To control another person, I think, leads to bad karma. In other words, if you are controlling another person, impeding their free will, getting in the way of what they're here to do, I think that comes back on you and ends up creating suffering in your own experience. The only things that we can really control are what thoughts do we focus upon and what thoughts do we put into action. And our feelings tell us if the thoughts that we're focusing on and if the thoughts we're putting into action are aligned with our spirit, with our higher purpose. But it's easy to get into control behavior because, especially in relationships that we are enjoying, then it's easy to say, I don't want to lose this. So there can be an active control or a passive control. Active control, really either physical control of another person or psychological control, not wanting other person to do something because it threatens you. Passive kind of control, more subtle, would be cheating, withholding, lying, taking away choice so that your partner or the other person, doesn't have to be in romantic relationships, but it would be taking away choice from the other person in terms of their ability to make an informed decision about whether or not they'd want to be relating to you. So if we actively control somebody, manipulate them, then that is clearly a negative kind of energy. But if we also don't share who we really are, then I think that is negative karma as well, because it takes away the other person's choice. And anything that impedes upon choice or free will is not in alignment with our higher purpose of the kind of beings that we're trying to become here. And so if you are afraid that somebody won't like you, won't want to be with you, if they knew things about you, then it's tempting to want to withhold them. And also, if you want to control somebody's free will, then it's tempting to do whatever it takes. An example of this is, I recently, about a couple months ago, went through a major transition with over 5-year relationship ending. And in that process of recovery, I looked up on the internet. I remember that my first wife said she read something about how to survive a breakup, I think, or somebody told me about that book. But there was a lot of just, blogs about it, just free information available about surviving breakups. And it taught me it was a very universal experience for people, the kind of things people go through. And as I looked through this information, a lot of these different articles were conjoined with other articles about how to get your boyfriend or girlfriend back. And I just ignored it at first, and I thought, alright, I'm curious, what are they going to say? And I didn't want to utilize that because I thought this is about impeding on free will. But I was curious to see what they said and explore the shadow stuff. And it wasn't really surprising because it was basically about misrepresenting who you are and where you're at. The basic premise was false, which is that a relationship isn't over until the other person is suffering, the other person is in pain. That's when it's over. And in my experience, I've ended maybe 20 or so relationships, and it's over when I don't feel a connection in my heart and in my mind with the other person. And it doesn't really matter what their reaction is to it. But it takes this premise and then it goes into, act like you're fine, and don't let the other person know that you're experiencing any discomfort, and and act like you're healed, even if you're not. And it reminded me of this kind of premise that that floats around out there, which I think only really attracts unhealthy people, which is this premise that if you don't, especially guys, if you don't care, if you don't show interest, then that's how you get a woman to like you. And in reality, that not only is that controlling, that is probably only going to work with people that have like maybe a parental issue in which they don't feel loved or they don't feel cared for, and they want to act that out. But ultimately, when it comes to control, I believe that if we focus on our thoughts, and we go through all kinds of thoughts, I mean, it's amazing, the inner dialogue could fill an entire book, like probably hundreds of pages each day of just thoughts. And as we go through these thoughts, I don't think we need to fight against any of them, but we can control which ones we focus on. And if the thoughts that we're focused on feel like they're coming from a higher place, a more evolved part of our mind and our spirit, then I think that leads to more positive experiences. And out of all these thoughts of what to do, which one do you put into action is a huge choice. These are the things you can control. And like I mentioned earlier, your feelings will let you know if what you're focused on in your thoughts and what you're putting into action are aligned with your higher purpose. Controlling others, it's tempting to do because we can become addicted to other people, we can get good chemical reactions in our brain because of interactions with other people, intimacy, and feelings of love, but we can't impede another person's free will. Everybody's got to choose for themselves what they want to do. And so the more we can let go and just let people be themselves and let ourselves be ourselves, then we move into a more unconditionally loving kind of world that ultimately I believe we all want to live in, even though it can bring up fears and discomfort for us. Thanks for listening.